this is Gina. Today I am going to open a curated bead box for you. This is Summer Breeze, and all of the beads are listed on the front. So as we go through them, we can look and see what size they are and what they're made of and so on and so forth. Now, I have opened a couple of these boxes on my other channel, and I decided to do it on this channel just because I have more beginning beaders that are trying to build their bead stash, and having a subscription box or two can help do that. So this is from dollarbead.com, and generally the boxes are full of really nice beads, and they're color coordinated to kind of complement each other. So that's what's nice about this box. And if you are a new subscriber, you can put in the code GINA 35% and get 35% off of your first box if you're a new subscriber. So don't forget to put that code in, and let's go ahead and open this and see what's inside here. Let me get this open. It's very nicely packaged in tissue paper. I'm going to go ahead and open this, and I'm going to lay out the beads in the order that are on the box so I can go through them with you so that I don't fumble through it. And I will be right back. So this is what's in the box. We've got nice little packages of findings and a few things up here, and then all of the beads that came. So let me scooch these back just a little bit and I will show you. The first one is 6mm raspberry crackle glass beads, and it's a 16-inch strand, and that's really a nice long strand of beads. And these are really pretty. Let me show you. This you could use in bead weaving even. A 6mm is a good size to use in your bead weaving, and they're pretty, very pretty. And then the next one is 6mm lavender glass pearl strand, and this is also a 16-inch strand. And this is really nice. It feels good. The paint feels thick on them, and it looks good on the ends. They're not all stuck together or scratched, or they look really nice. And then we have, back off just a little, we have a 6mm turquoise and white cat's eye beads, 6-inch strand. So those are really pretty. I like cat's eye. I like the fiber optic illusion in them. It's really pretty. So those are nice. I can always use those. I enjoy cat's eye beads. And then 6mm pink faceted round glass beads, and this is an 11-inch strand. And these are really pretty too. This is also something that would be really nice in bead weaving. It's pretty. Maybe I'll think of a quick little project to do, maybe add some seed beads to it and make something for us. And then I've had these before. These are nice. I actually made a tutorial on my Gina's Gem Creations with this type of pearl before. And this is a 10 millimeter, 8mm baby blue rustic glass pearl beads. And I like these because they're textured and they're really pretty. These are always nice to play with and work with. I like those. And then we have a 12mm purple dusk abstract glass 8-inch string, and that would be this. And these are pretty too, especially if you're going to do a statement necklace or bracelet. Those are really pretty. A nice big strung. Whoops, I just pulled the strand apart. Well, there, you can see one. See how pretty they are? Those are fun to play with too. And then we have a 10mm dusty pink gemstone style glass beads. These kind of look like crackle beads to me, but they are pretty. The dusty pink color is pretty. I like that. And those are really nice. And there's quite a few on there. And then after that, we have a 12mm turquoise marble style glass beads. Let me see. Yeah, that would be these. Those are pretty too. Let's make a nice bracelet. That'd be pretty. And then we have 12 millimeter turquoise marble style glass beads. And that would be these little disc type. So let me see, I just read that wrong. These are 16 millimeter reconstituted turquoise gemstone beads. Excuse me. That's what those are. This would be fun to play with too. And then we have some little heshy beads, and this is 6 millimeter, and these are gemstone beads. They're 6 millimeter maize heshy. I may be saying that wrong. I don't know. And then, of course, they are gemstone, and it's a 3¼ inch strand. There's a lot of little beads on there. Those are kind of fun to use as spacers. I kind of like those. And then we have 20 millimeter turquoise donut gemstone beads, and there's 2 of them in here. These are always fun to play with too. They make nice earrings or a component to do some bead weaving and connect them together. I'm trying to open it, but it doesn't seem to want to open. There we go. Those are fun to have. And then we have 4 millimeter silver link chain, 40 inch length. That's pretty good size, or pretty good length. Let me pull this out so you can see. Yeah, that's quite a bit of chain. You can see that's a lot of chain. Let's see, back off a little. That's nice. I always need chain because I like to use it towards the back of necklaces a lot. So it's nice to have some chain. And then we have a 18 by 30 wheat flour glass rectangle pendant with a bail. So let's look at this. This is interesting. Oh, that's kind of cool. Let me get you close so you can see the flowers inside it. Look at that. And it has a nice little bail on it already, so you don't have to worry about bailing it. You can just string that right up. That'd be nice. It'd be good with these too, as spacers, and to string something with that would be nice together. And then there are some findings, some little cording in here, a couple ear wires, some small spacer beads. That's nice. They might be crimp beads, but I don't think they are. If I squashed them, well, maybe they are crimp beads. Let me squash one, and I'll tell you. This part isn't written down, so don't yell at me and say, you could look at the box. But if you want to, go ahead. I don't care. It's okay. Alright, yep, those are crimp beads. They squish. So you could use those also in your stringing. And then we have a couple clasps. I'll show you what these look like. These are pretty too. I always like to get little fancy toggles. I like them to have a little character to them. That's what those look like. So I haven't decided if I want to do a little tutorial online here or if I just want to make something and show it to you, but I will be back in a minute with my decision, and we'll either make something or I will show you what I've made. But give me a few minutes to figure out what I want to do. Okay, so I've decided to make a multi-strand necklace. I've just put out some of the beads that I wanted to use in the bead box. I'm using the Dusty Rose colored larger bead. I'm using the large glass purpley striped bead. I'm using the turquoise textured pearl 8 millimeter. I'm using the 6 millimeter lavender pearls and crackle beads in the raspberry color. And then I'm going to also add to the mix some 6/0 seed beads. These are 6/0 seed beads that are of cheaper type. everybody buys these cheap seed beads when they very first start, and then they don't know what to do with them. I bought these years ago. These are really cheap ones, and they're all different sizes and shapes and blah blah. But for an eclectic type necklace like this, they work fine. In stringing, they work okay. So I'm going to go ahead and use them. Everyone wants to know what they should do with those beads after they bought them, and this is one of the ways you can use them. These two are actually a little bit higher quality check, so they are pretty uniform, but they're still cheaper than, say, a Miyuki or Toho or something like that. So you can get out any of your old cheap 6/0 seed beads that you bought and use them for this. And like I said, I'm using a size 4 crimp bead, and then we'll need some tools. A wire cutter is good, a flat nose plier, even a chain nose plier too, if you'd like, and a crimping tool, or you can just use your flat nose pliers to crimp your crimp bead if you would like. I'm also going to have a clip out in case I need to clip the ends of my wires to keep my beads from falling off. So let's go ahead and get started with this project. I've cut about 22 inches of my wire, and I've cut 3 pieces. And what you're going to do is you're going to get out one of your size 4 crimp beads, and my lid just flew. I'll find that later. And you're going to slide all 4 or all 3 of these wires into the crimp bead. Then you're going to slide one end of your clasp over those wires. And try to keep them together. And then you're going to put all of these wires back into the crimp bead. And it gets kind of stiff, so just kind of work with it slowly. And put them back in. Size 4 should be more than big enough for you to do that. And once you get them through, pull on the longer wires. So you've got these short wires hanging out. Pull on the longer wires. Kind of put your fingers over it and hold the crimp bead and pull on the longer wires until you get something that looks like this. Now, it's always uneven. What we're going to do is pull on each individual wire until we can figure out which one is poking up. So this, I'm just going to pull a little bit on each one and try to get them about the same size in the loop, like so. And then you can just take your flat nose pliers and crimp this if you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and use my Mighty Crimpers. This is a bigger crimping tool, and it is made for bigger crimp beads, multi-strands, things like that. Now I'm going to use the second divot in my crimp plier. You can use your regular crimp tool too, perhaps, see how it works, but I'm using the bigger one. Then I'm going to go through, after I've crimped that down, then I'm going to go into the second hole, the one closest to the tip of my crimping tool, and just squeeze it together. And I'll do that a couple times. These bigger ones, sometimes you have to work with them a little bit. And that's what that should look like. Nicely crimped. Then get you a little closer so you can see it. So you'll go into the second hole and crimp it together, and then go into the first hole, crimp it, turn it, crimp it, turn it, crimp it. And then that way you'll get a nice, round, pretty crimp. Now, with this, these are quite a few wires here. So you could take a larger hold bead and you could slide it over that if you would like, or you can try to see if one of your larger 6/0s will fit over it, but I doubt seriously that they will. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these down . Cut the ends down close to my crimp bead. Just make sure your crimp bead is tightly crimped. And then when I start stringing, I'm just going to have a little tiny bit of wire showing right there, which is okay. If you would like to, you can find a bigger bead in your stash if you have one, and slide it over. Let me show you what that would look like. So like I could take this bead and slide it right over the whole thing. And that would even cover my crimp bead, the whole 9 yards, and I wouldn't have to worry about it being shown. So you can do that, or you can do whatever bead you can find that would fit over all that, which you can do. But since we don't have that in the box, I'm not going to show that right now. And, or even a bead like this one, that would work too. Now I am going to put all 3 of my wires together, and I'm just going to start stringing. I'm first going to use one of my big 6/0 seed beads and put all 3 of these wires through it and string it all the way to the top. And I'm going to do that with several of my 6/0 seed beads. If you want to, more than likely, you could probably slide some of your beads from the bead box over too. You just have to see what will fit. The raspberry ones might fit. They have a little bit bigger hole. So I could put one of these, and then I can put another 6/0 seed bead and slide it over. And then I'm just going to continue doing this, finding different beads that I want to put on here. See if this pearl will fit over all 3 of them. Yep. And I'm going to continue doing that until I've strung several inches, and I'll show you exactly when I come back how many inches I have strung, how many beads I've put on, and then we'll split the wires apart, do a multi-section in the center, and then we'll put them back together and do the other end. So it's really a very simple way of doing a multi-strand. Okay, so I have strung a combination of beads until I am about 5 inches down on my length. So I'm going to make about a 20-inch necklace. Let me back off and show you. So I'm going to go to the 10 here on the outside row of my beadboard, and I'm going to lay my toggle clasp halfway through that 10. So the middle of my clasp on the 10, and then I'm going to the 5 so that this will lay right about where my collarbone is, and that's where I'll start my multi-strand. Now it's not quite to the 5, but when I put the next bead I'm going to put on, which will be one of the large beads here, I'll put this one on. Then if you look, it should be right about on the 5 perfectly. So that's where I want to be. Now I will string all the way to the other 5 on the outside here with my multi-strand part, and then I will again do this combination with my beads on all 3 strings up to the 10 on this side. That way I will have a 20-inch necklace. It'll be symmetrical, so if I string my multis from here to here, then I will have plenty of wire. If I lay it out, give me a couple extra inches, plus it'll give room for this to spread out, and I should be able to have plenty of wire and plenty of room to do my clasping. So that's how you want to measure that. Now, to start my multi-strand part, I'm just going to take my wires and kind of spread them apart. And then I'm going to use some of my 11/0 seed beads on each strand so that they will hang nicely away from each other when I start using my bigger beads and start doing all 3 strands. So I'm going to pick up about 10 11/0 seed beads. So I've got 4, 5, 6, and it depends. You know, you can do 5, 6, however you want. I'm going to use 10 just to make sure I have plenty of room here. And if I decide that's too many, I can always change that. 3, 6, actually I'm going to use 8. I think that looks about right. So that I don't have such a huge space before I start my 3 strands. And I'm going to put a bead on here and see what I think. I may even take a couple off and go 6. I may do that. It just depends. I don't want a huge bunch of space. So I'm going to start with a bead. Let's see. Actually, I think that's going to be okay. That's going to allow a little bit of space. And then I will start stringing. Nah, I've changed my mind. 2. I'm going to go with 6 beads. And then I'm going to start stringing my larger beads. But first, I want to put 6 on all 3 of these. And then I'll just string all 3 of them together so that I can kind of watch how my beads lay next to each other as I put them on. So your design process can be any way you want. You can put as many or as little beads as you'd like on here, but you want enough room so that the beads lay correctly in the multi-strand part. Big beads laying next to each other is just going to push it around funny, so you have to have smaller beads to start with. So here I have my 3 strands, and I'll just kind of separate them. As I string them, they'll lay nicer. So I've got this first bead here, and I think I'll just do a couple of purple 6/0s here, and then I'll put a turquoise bead on. And then over here, I think I will do a couple of my turquoise, drop it down, and I'll use one of my big rose beads. See how that works. So you can see how things are starting to kind of lay out together. And I'm going to continue just putting 6/0 seed beads, and I'm going to try to alternate small bead next to big beads, small beads next to big beads as I string all 3 of them so that they lay together right. Because if I put a big bead right next to a big bead, it's going to push my strands apart funny. So I'm going to alternate small one, and then I'll put a big one on the one next to it, then I'll put small ones, you know, so that they lay nicely on our strands. I'm going to continue stringing those until I get close to the 5 on the other side, put my 11/0 seed beads and this one to make my 5 inches, or to make to my 5 mark on my board. So I will come back and show you exactly what I mean. Okay, so now you can see I have strung my 3 strands, and I have strung them from this 5 to, as soon as I put the big bead on, it'll be on this 5, and then I can string the 3 strands together. I'm going to take this off. Now you can see they're all just a little bit different length the way I strung them, but yet they all pretty much come together the same when I squeeze it. You can, at this point, twist them around a little bit. If you want them to lay more twisted, you can kind of braid them, whatever you'd like. So I think I'm going to just kind of braid them a little bit and see what happens. And then after I've done that, I am going to put my big bead on, see what it looks like. You can leave them straight, you can do whatever you want. Now I'm going to put this on. Pull it together, and that's what that looks like. So, and I kind of like that, so I'm going to leave it like that, and then I am going to start stringing this side exactly the same as I did this side. The order of my beads and everything exactly the same, and then I will put the crimp bead on the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and begin stringing all 3 of the strands together, and then crimp it, and I'll come back and show you what I have. And here it is. I went ahead and strung this, and then I just put my big number 4 crimp bead on, and then put my wires through it and cut my wires off, and that's how I finished that. And I still have a whole lot of beads left of what I just opened, and I have stuff that I didn't open. So it's messy, but I'll show you what it looks like, how many beads I have. So I'm going to make, it's a mess, but see, I still have a lot of these beads left. So I am going to go ahead and make a pair of earrings and maybe a stretch bracelet or something cute to go with it, and I'll show you the set when I'm done. Okay, so I want to show you how to make this really simple earring. This is the simplest thing I could come up with just to throw together real quick to make a set. So I have gotten out of my stash an eye pin and a head pin. A head pin looks like a nail, it has a little head like a nail, and an eye pin, of course, has a circle. So I've gotten those two out. And this is the ear wires that came with the box. So I am just going to take my head pin, I'm going to slide it onto my large bead here, and then I'm going to grab some round nose pliers. I'm going to place my round nose pliers right on top of the bead without any slack in the wire. And then I'm going to turn the wire, or just bend the wire over the top of my round nose pliers. I'm just maybe a quarter of an inch the way down here. And then I'm going to slide my pliers up into where I bent the wire. And then I'm going to roll the wire over the top of the plier and kind of turn my hand as I do that, turning the wire. And that way I have created a loop, as you see. Let's see, did I make that one bigger than the last one? No, it's about the same size. And then I'm going to hold on to my loop with my chain nose pliers, and I'm just going to wrap my extra wire around, laying it on top of itself as I move down the bead. And just keep wrapping it until I run out of wire, basically. See if I can get one more half wrap here. Okay, so then I'm just going to cut that with my wire cutters, covering it so I don't poke my eye out. And then what's left I will just squish down on top of the bead like so. And then I will open, that's not very squished down. Oh, I can always fix it later. Then I'm going to open my eye pin from side to side. So you can see there's just a little open loop here. You just grab a hold of the loop with your chain nose pliers, flat nose pliers, whatever, and open it up towards you. Just twist it. Don't pull it out. And then put it onto your, put your new bead onto that loop. And then just close that loop by twisting it back the opposite direction from which you opened it. And just make sure you get it closed nice and tight, like so. And then I'm just going to stack some beads on top of here. I'm going to put the big dusty rose color one. I was going to use the raspberry one too, but it just felt like it was way too tall of a stack. So I used the dusty rose, the turquoise, and the lavender beads, like so. And then I just did the same thing again. Take my round nose pliers, put them on my wire, just a little ways down, bent the wire over the top, moved my plier into where I bent the wire, bring my wire over the top of the plier, and kind of turn my hand as I do so with my pliers. Then I have a loop. Then I'm going to hold on to the loop again. It's better if you bend your wire up parallel to your pliers before you start wrapping it, because it just turns out better. You get a more uniform wrap. Then I'm going to switch hands And I'm going to wrap with my right hand since it actually can do something. My left hand cannot. And I'm just going to start wrapping my extra wire around. And this is actually a pretty hard wire. My head pins are pretty stiff ones. So it's a little bit harder to work with than some of the other wires that I've had, but I'm getting it. It's just really stiff wire. And then I'm going to cut off the excess and tuck down the tail. Nicked my thumb with the pliers there. Get my chain nose pliers, tuck this in the best I can. Then grab my ear wire and open it from side to side too. So I'm just holding it flat and then I'm going to twist up towards me. And then, oops, I need to open it a little more than that. And then slide my earring on it and then close it. Going back, twisting it back from where I came from. And there's just a really simple, cute little pair of earrings to go with my very cute, simple necklace. And I'm still going to, I think I'm even going to make a stretch bracelet because what I called cording in the package was actually elastic. So this is actually some elastic. I may use some of my own because the stuff I have is a little bit thicker than this and I just feel like it's more secure. But I think I might just make a real cute little stretch bracelet or two to go with the set. And then I will have a complete little cute, summery, fun, whimsical type of set. So anyway, let me go do that and I'll show you. Okay, so I've got this very generic 0.8 millimeter clear stretch cord. And I'm going to use it because it's just a more substantial cord and a little bit more resistance to it. And I find that a little bit thicker stretch cord works a little bit nicer to actually keep your bracelets from falling apart. Now, what I'm doing is I just cut a piece. I didn't even measure it. I just cut a piece. And now I'm stretching it because I want to get some of the stretch out so that my bracelet doesn't get bigger and bigger and bigger as I wear it. It will a little bit. But if I take some of the stretch out first by stretching this, then I know that I'm going to be okay. This is way too long of a piece, but I just cut it off. I didn't measure it. And I'm going to put a little clamp on the end of it, and then I am just going to start stringing some of these leftover beads I have. I can use my seed beads if I want. I can just use the big beads. Doesn't really matter. But I'll probably use some of my seed beads since I put them in my necklace and I want this to be a set. So I'll probably go ahead and use some of the silver, turquoise, and purple beads that I used in the necklace. And I will just begin stringing them on my cording. And then I will be back and I'll show you how to knot your stretch cord. And of course you want to measure on your bead board, so have your bead board out. This top portion here, the straight portion, is where you will measure your bracelets. Of course you can use a ruler too. From here to here, from the 3 to 3, of course, is 6 inches. So I usually make mine out to about the ends here because I like mine to be 7 inches. And then I know that I can tie it off and have a bracelet that fits me. There are, of course, longer measuring boards than that. There's flat ones that you can use. This will also work too. I can just lay it out to the length I want on here and then tie it off too. So go ahead and start stringing whatever beads you want onto your cording, and then once I get all the beads that I want on mine, we will tie this off. You will also need a little bit of glue for your knot, and I'm going to use this crazy glue that has a little brush on it. These are nice because then you can brush your knot without making a huge mess. You can also use GS Hypo Cement. You can use whatever you would like. I am going to use this, and then we'll be back. Okay, so I have reached right to my 7 inches right there, And I didn't really lay out a pattern. I just kind of did it hodgepodgey. However, I just put beads on because I only had a couple of these left after making my earrings and necklace. I didn't have enough to actually lay out a pattern with them, but I put a couple in there and I just did it kind of, like I said, hodgepodgey or whatever, mismatched, whatever you want to call it, just so that I could get the same beads that are in my necklace in my bracelet. Now, I have scooted this end up away from my clip a little bit, and I'm just going to move these more to the inner part of my length of cord here. And let me get this out of the way, and that, get you a little closer. I'm going to stretch it out again, and then I'm just going to bring these together like so, and I'm just going to tie a knot a little ways away from itself, from the two ends here, so that I can pull it together, see, like so. And just pull it really tight. And then I'm going to tie another knot. And pull it tight. Pull the bracelet apart and pull that tight that way too. I could have probably made this a little smaller, but it looks like it's going to be kind of a big stretch bracelet, but that's okay. Let's see. That's not bad. It'll move around on my wrist. Yeah, that's okay. That's good. And then I am then, after I've tied a knot a few times, I'm just going to pull my beads apart like so. Expose the knot. Huh, I can get my fingers to work like this. Just spread it apart like this. Then I'm going to, you should probably open your glue beforehand so you don't do it one-handed, but oh well. And then I'm just going to paint a little bit of my glue on here. Give it a second. And then I will clip off. You can wait till it dries to clip off the ends if you'd like, but for the video here, I'm just going to clip them off fairly close to the knot, not right on top of it though. And then I'm going to slide the glued knot right into this seed bead here, if I can. Just going to slide my beads over it, like so. And then it's hidden the knot. You can't see it. It'll kind of glue itself inside that bead. And that is my stretch bracelet. And let me move my big mess. And I still have a ton of beads left. See? So I can still do other stuff. So a ton of stuff comes in that package. Of course, I added seed beads to it too, but I always want to add a little something to these boxes. It just helps you be creative. You have something in there you can play with. Go get stuff out of your stash to play with. Whatever you want to do. And then that way you can create all kinds of stuff and you haven't spent very much money. I think this box is about 20 bucks a month. And let's see. Just remember to put in Gina 35%, and if you're a new subscriber, you will get the box, your first box for 35% off. And I think this little set turned out really rather cute. And there you have it. Anyway, have a great night and see you later. Bye-bye.